episode 112. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swig.
How's it going, Dave? We're a couple days before Christmas, which in retail life is the sweet, sweet relief. Temporary relief, because then return season starts. But
yeah,
we're almost done. We're almost through this.
So we were recording on Tuesday, the 21st, so we're a couple days out from Christmas. So most of you will be listening to this on the 23rd, hopefully, or 24th, because we release every Thursday on podcast services around the internet, as well as live streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming. So if you're able to leave us a review on your podcast service, that's super helpful. I just found out today that Spotify has a star system now. Yep. Yeah. I got a text from one of our listeners, Josh, not that Josh.
Josh
this is a former coworker of mine that he gave us a rating, so that's appreciative. So if you listen on Spotify, please give us a rating. If Spotify lets you use words, that helps a lot as well. Especially on maybe somebody hasn't discovered us on Spotify yet, or maybe you didn't know we were on Spotify, but we'll show up on algorithms and all that other number jazz that I don't really understand, but just help us out and leave us a review. It's super helpful. If you are live watching us on Twitch, thank you for hanging out with us. You are able to use a Twitch sub on us, as we have an affiliation with Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link that with your Twitch account, and you get something called Twitch Prime. You get a bunch of free stuff, gaming-wise as well. DLC skins, DLC content stuff, in-game currencies, random stuff for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, all of the above. And you also get a free Twitch sub that you can use on us. It does not reoccur every 30 days. So if you're listening and you're somebody like, I did that a couple months ago, come back and do it again, please. That would be really helpful. Other than that, we obviously are, like we mentioned, the week before Christmas. So we have a little bit of a light news week, but a news story that I think people have been clamoring about for a long time, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of faith in it.
Yeah, that story being Splinter Cell is being remade. It's official. There is a new Splinter Cell game coming. It was announced in the most unsexy way possible of just like, hey, it's happening. We're hiring.
I got an email. I got a PR email. I'm like, huh?
Yeah. The Game Awards were last week. They could have easily have just done a trailer with 3 green dots and then people would have lost their mind. Instead, they are just announcing that they're remaking the first Splinter Cell game, it sounds like. It's going to be the Toronto studio, and they're using the Snowdrop engine, which is the Division 2 engine, which I'm wondering, because Splinter Cell is pretty linear, and the Division and everything that Ubisoft puts on is like these gigantic open worlds, so I wonder how that's going to like translate.
Yeah, I think taking it from an open concept to a more linear concept where you have more control over it, I think you can probably maybe use the power of the engine a little bit more versus the resources of the engine being spread out of like, hey, if this guy randomly makes a left, we need to be ready, and if he goes to the right, we need to be ready.
Yeah. I imagine, like, I just wondering in terms of concept and design at Ubisoft, their whole system's built around these big open world experiences, and if they're trying to stay faithful to the original Splinter Cell, that kind of goes a little off.
At least they have, a house. They have a foundation and a frame and a house that they know what it's supposed to be, and maybe they can just change the decor a little bit.
Yeah, and work around that. It sounds like they were like heavily inspired by how the Hitman franchise has gone, which is a perfect franchise to look at for a stealth game, obviously. So they're going to look at that as some inspiration. This seems like this announcement was mostly because they are trying to hire for this game, higher up at the studio. So this was kind of one of those announcements that I think the reason there's no pomp and circumstance, there's no like crazy like trailer, is because they literally just need to hire people for this job, and they know if they start hiring, this would just leak anyways, so they're just like,
right, this is like them just getting in front of it, like, hey, it's happening because we're posting jobs for it now before it, or otherwise you'd hear Michael going, so there's a senior producer job open at a Toronto studio for a classic remake game.
Yeah. It's stealth based. Yeah, there'd be stuff like that. So they're just getting in front of it. Also, they probably need a win after the whole NFT shit with Ghost Recon. So they're just like, let's just put something out that'll make people happy.
The reason I'm concerned about this is, other than the fact that people want a new Splinter Cell, or want something Splinter Cell at this point in time, that's fine and cool. their track record right now with Prince of Persia is terrible. So
yeah,
and it keeps getting delayed. And when they showed it, it looked terrible. I don't think that this is the same studio or even area, but it's still under the Ubisoft umbrella, which is still a little concerning. And then I also just saw something today that in the last 18 months, Ubisoft has lost over 12% of his employment, of his employers, employees. Sorry,
it sounds like there's
because
just
they're not doing anything that they said they were going to do.
Yeah, both in terms of like the HR aspect of things, of they're not fulfilling the promises they made for that in terms of like employee like comfort levels and safeties in some circumstances, but also they're constantly changing the messaging on like, oh, we're going to change the way we do things creatively, and then they put out Far Cry, and there's a Division free-to-play game that doesn't necessarily show that, like, oh, they're doing something drastically different. It's just like, okay, no, you guys are just doing a free-to-play game.
Well, and I think the memes that I saw, like, on social media this week were like, oh, how are you going to turn a remake into a games as a service?
Yeah. And then also I honestly do believe that, like, the NFT stuff probably sucks if you're, like, a developer who just wants to make games, and then you have the people at the top of being like, hey, we don't really understand what an NFT is, but we want this because it'll make the investors happy. And that's how you get the Ghost Recon NFT mess, where it's just like, they're just basically wasting energy, like actual energy to sound cool. Yeah, to sound cool, but specifically to fulfill the thing that Uplay already fulfills, because they're just giving away stuff that's locked to an account that has no value outside of the game. And it's just like, you have that. It's called a Uplay account, but they're just using the blockchain to process that, and it's just... Which,
by the way, a Uplay account you have to play any of their games now on any system.
Yeah, so like when them just like basically someone at the top is just like, hey, we want to be in the NFT blockchain stuff because it'll make investors happy, and then they have to figure out a way to do it. I'm sure it's a mess where people aren't happy trying to implement that into their game design. I mean, I originally had it in this, in our news breakout of like the Stalker 2 developers announced they were doing NFTs. A day later had to double down and be like, no, listen to us. This is good for us. And then in a couple hours after that statement, they're like, okay, we're not doing NFTs. We listen to the community and this is a waste of our time. Yeah. So knowing Ubisoft is trying so hard to get into that market probably messes with some creative people.
And to your point too, like maybe Splinter Cell is something that enough people want to work on that they'll apply for this job, and then the future plan would be like, okay, you work for Ubisoft now, you did a really good job with Splinter Cell, here's this other thing that we want you to do to hopefully maybe bring their talent level back up, because 12% of your employee base is a lot, no matter where, like no matter where. It's like if an independent studio lost 12% of its base, that's substantial.
Yeah,
I mean it's crazy to see, like, and they're just in this weird spot, like, and this is the cool thing about video game hobbies and the bad part about video game hobbies of, like, we hear about all this stuff. Like 10 years ago, we probably would have never heard about employment unhappiness and leaving. And I think it's great that people are feeling comfortable enough to speak about it. But the fact that it's a little discouraging to me, at least, that it's starting to blend into the video game world now of like, I don't want to play that game because those people are bad to their workers. And that sucks. Like, I just want to play video games.
Yeah. Like, it's really hard to, every time I see something with Overwatch, like, maybe I want to go back. It's like, you know what? No, I don't want to deal with all that Blizzard stuff. So where we just want publishers to treat their workers right. But it's getting so egregious that it's just like, now when you pick up a game, you have to think about, like, oh, do I even want to support what this game represents?
Just from a direct perspective for me is like Bungie just got, like, in the last 2 weeks got taken through the cleaners by IGN.
Yeah.
And it sounds terrible. In terms of the statement that Pete Parson released from a Bungie CEO standpoint, like, I think he did as much damage control as he possibly could do. And then enough current Bungie employees came out and said, yes, that happened, and that's terrible that it happened. However, this is what they've been doing. So there's a lot going on versus, Activision's like, figure of speech, opening the front door, going, "Yeah, we did that," slam the door in your face and walk away.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like Activision Blizzard. So it's and then now we're hearing about some crazy stuff going on at Ubisoft, and it just kind of starts to take the sales out of out of your fun and your excitement sometimes. So, but it also still needs to be talked about. Like, there's not, I don't know how to balance it. I am by no means saying I don't want to hear about it or that I don't want to think about it or want it to exist. But at the same time, like, I just want to turn my brain off and play a video game sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's tiring, especially like when you look at an Activision thing, where it keeps piling on and it gets worse and worse and worse, and it's just like, oh my god, I just want to play your broken Warzone, like. Yeah.
Like, I've been seeing, like, oh, we should, normalize alcohol-free events. Yeah, we should also normalize, like, just people being decent human beings.
Yeah. Well, this is an instance where Ubisoft the last 2 years have had so many issues. We can't even talk about Splinter Cell being remade without being like, well, let's look into this.
And they're having issues with the employment process, and they're having issues from the development. So they got it from both ends right now. Like,
yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Splinter Cell thing, but I don't know what Ubisoft's pipeline is, like, because Assassin's Creed has basically been delayed.
Well, they just announced a huge expansion
because they're doing a second year because they just don't have a new Assassin's Creed. Prince of Persia has been put in limbo. Beyond Good and Evil has been in development hell for years now. I guess
Far Cry came out. It was okay. It's going to be a top 10 selling game like it always is, and Just Dance will be Just Dance.
Well, that's basically their only two go-to right now, outside of Rainbow Six, which just is discontinuing.
Is there? Yes, and then whatever this Division thing is, we'll draw talk. But I have a feeling from a free to play standpoint, it'll be a month at the most. And that's a high end.
And I don't know. Not that the Division 2 is bad or anything like that, but I don't know if the Division as a franchise can survive like a bad first person or a free to play experience or a forgettable free to play experience.
I think that it can, but it also depends on, like, they're also supposed to be releasing additional content for the Division 2, and we don't know when that's coming either. So we don't know where Heartland is. We don't know. I mean, we at least know what Heartland is. We don't know where it is. And we don't know when it is. And then we know that they've said that they're doing some additional stuff for Division 2, but we don't know when or where that is either. So, it sounds like initially they weren't going to do any additional Division 2 content, and they said, hey, like, we hear the feedback, so we're going to do it now. Like, okay, so that you just started it? Like,
well, it just, like, what I mean by that is, like, financially is Ubisoft going to continue to put money in the Division if it like,
that For Honor's in year 5?
Yeah, but they haven't made a For Honor 2. But I'm saying, like, are they going to put money into a 4th Division game if the Division free to play game doesn't work out?
Right.
Especially with
I was just more referencing, like, For Honor's being in year 5, season whatever. Yeah. Like, they're still doing it, and there's a valid community there.
Yeah. And then you have to wonder, like, what the hell's going on with, like, Watch Dogs? Watch Dogs 2 was really successful, especially compared to the first game.
And then Legion, I mean, I haven't heard anything, like, I never heard anything, like, terrible
about
it.
I forgot Legion was a game that came out. Holy shit. That's what I was like, there hasn't been anything since Watch Dogs 2, but no, there was Legion.
Yeah, Legion's in there, yep.
And I played Legion, like, several times. Holy shit.
But that's what's happening. Yeah. That's just kind of what's happening, is where it kind of just exists, and it's not good, it's not bad, it's there. It had a beginning, it had a middle, it had an end, it had some cool stuff in it, and then it's forgotten. Like, like what you forgot.
Yeah, and I liked Legion.
But it's just one of those things where okay, cool. I had a great time with it. I have it. I want to beat it. There's a question in here today of, like, what am I more excited for? Well, spoiler, I'm more excited for the game that the prequel that I already beat.
Yeah.
Like, so.
But yeah, that's it for the Ubisoft stuff.
So before you get to this one, I don't know if you saw this or not. Did you see that Back 4 Blood got bought by Tencent?
Yeah, I meant to put it on there, but
and that's really all it is, by the way. Like I was like, Tencent is like this big bank that you never see or hear from, but they're just there.
Yeah. So Tencent bought Turtle Rock. The makers of Back 4 Blood. The developers came out immediately and are like, "This means we can expand the Back 4 Blood universe," which is good to hear because the game was slightly successful. It seemed like it was a little
plateauing.
Yeah. And then they announced their seasonal content, which was very lackluster. Completely, they put Christmas lights and snow in the loading areas. So really? nothing great. So this at least shows that they're going to get some funding to continue making Back 4 Blood. And just like every acquisition by Tencent, they will not touch anything with the studio. They just fund them.
So weird.
And then let them do their thing. I'm still waiting for Tencent to just pop up out of nowhere and be like, we're shutting down half the video game industry. Or just immediately just hitting a button and then being like, yep, all these games are
welcome to Tencent Game. We are gonna we now have owned the IPs for every single game you've enjoyed the last 9 years,
and you've been mining Bitcoin this entire time with every one of our games. But yeah, unfortunately,
like a Truman Show.
Yeah,
Tencent's the Truman Show director.
Yeah, every single time Tencent buys a company, because they buy them frequently.
Yep.
They don't do anything with them. They kind of just let them work, and for better or worse, in terms of just some of these studios feel like they disappear after they go into the Tencent thing.
But obviously they have money.
Oh, they do.
Where's where's it all coming from? I guess I would have to really dig into them, but I'm waiting for the Jason Schreier article of the silent corporate hand, the silent corporate helicopter.
They're just a Chinese conglomerate that they just have a lot of money, and they a couple years ago were like, we have made billions in just China. We want to become a worldwide company, and instead of making new things worldwide, they're just acquiring stuff just so they can make Tencent more of a name brand outside of China. So it's basically the equivalent of Google just kind of went out there and just started to buy game developers like they did and failed. But Tencent isn't failing because they haven't been doing anything crazy. And Tencent seems to be more strategic in terms of they just buy studios that are marginally profitable and then just continue the run and are fine with that. So this next story came out as a little bit of a surprise. Embracer Group, the owners of THQ, Deep Silver, Saber Interactive, and 1,000 other studios, have acquired Dark Horse Comics. So this obviously doesn't sound too video game-like. This is Embracer Group expanding beyond video games. But I thought it was an interesting thing just to show what Embracer Group is trying to do. So Dark Horse is the third largest comic book publisher in the world. They own more than 300 different properties. This varies from stuff that they own outright and stuff that they have basically first rights to. So Hellboy, Umbrella Academy, Time Cop, The Mask. Those are all stuff that those are Dark Horse comics and properties, either outright or in partnership. So Dark Horse has a ton of IP, and then they have a bunch of different partnerships. They have partnerships with Nickelodeon for the Avatar comics. They have partnerships with The Witcher and Stranger Things, either through the Netflix deals or through just the actual author of The Witcher. And they also have partnership with with Disney for Star Wars. So they're a huge company that has a bunch of different IPs and partnerships that the Embracer Group would love to embrace and continue to just eat up.
Well,
everything.
and now they own.
Yeah, and now they own.
So and now they own it with a video game attachment to it. So it could mean Michael might get a Buffy game.
So that's a little complicated because that's still.
I know
that's Disney.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
But these are okay. Just from being the third largest comic book publisher. They obviously. I'm not a big comic book guy, so I can't speak to this in depth. But it probably, if I had to guess right off the bat, means that a very popular comic could become a video game very soon.
Yes, and Embracer Group has the video game studios.
Yes.
That. Because this is the thing I've been wondering is Embracer's been buying old IPs and they've been doing remasters, but a lot of the old IPs they've been buying, I don't know if anyone really wants a new game from for certain things. Now they have these studios and they have a bunch of these IPs in the Dark Horse library.
It's super fascinating to me just to think, and I don't think that they're owned by them. I just think they have a partnership. But this is just an example. Airship Syndicate, the Darksiders developer, they've already kind of proven that they can do comic book style animation in a video game.
Yeah.
Near flawlessly.
Yeah, and give them Hellboy?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like that would be like...
I don't know if Airship Syndicate is owned by the Embracer Group conglomerate. They might sign independent deals with them, but I know that this group, I believe, through THQ owns, like as an example, owns the Darksiders IP, because other people other than Airship Syndicate have done Darksiders. A different developer did 3 versus 1, 2, and Genesis. So Genesis was done by Airship Syndicate, and 1 and 2 were done by Airship Syndicate, and then 3 was done by somebody else.
Yeah. But it's definitely one of those things where if you're Embracer Group and you're looking at studios that you've worked with or you own, and you just start matching stuff up, the Darksiders people would be fantastic for a Hellboy. And then, like if they wanted to do an Umbrella Academy video game, they can do that now. It opens up, and then not only that, I'm mostly talking about like established IPs. They have over 300 IPs. There could be stuff that we're not even thinking about, that we don't know could be the next big thing, that they can easily just be like, okay.
And also just the fact that they could just mess with people too, and just put a character in a game that you're like, wait, like, is that going to be a thing?
Yeah. Well, and it's, they also have, like Dark Horse manga exists as well. And they have some big like manga IPs that could easily translate into video games. So this is like a huge...
Clarify what a manga is, please.
Japanese comic books.
Okay,
so
thank you.
If you...
I hope somebody else didn't know what that was. I hope I'm not alone in that.
Like Mob Psycho 100, Gantz. Gantz would be a fantastic thing to move into video games. It's basically just like... It would just be a co-op shooter against monsters. It's about people that are transferred into a video game world to shoot monsters. That's a video game waiting to happen. There's been Berserk games. I think Dark Horse just publishes Berserk. They don't own it. But there's a ton of stuff that this could lead to. Yeah. And then also just Embracer, in the announcement, they bragged that Embracer or Dark Horse has over 40 projects in TV and film that are currently in development that are most likely going to be actual TV shows and movies. Yeah. So Embracer just gets to pick up that and make more connections.
Well, what's also like could be super interesting is like some of the stuff that we've heard over time about video game development, where a game is pitched to a publisher or to a studio and or to a investor, and they go, "Hey, that's really cool, but I want it to be like this game." Like that's what Halo Wars came from. Like, Halo Wars wasn't initially supposed to be a Halo game, nor did they want it to be a Halo game. But Microsoft's like, well, if we're paying the bill, you're making a Halo game.
Yeah, if you want to make the game, you have to put the Halo skin.
So now, like as an example, like Deep Silver or THQ can go to Embracer and say, hey, here's our concept. We just need you to greenlight it. They go, yeah, we want you to make it this game now. Like, oh, like, and it could be, all right, cool. That looks really interesting. Make it a Hellboy game now.
Yeah. You know? The crazy thing is they didn't announce how much money it cost, but apparently Embracer was competing against Disney and Viacom and Netflix for Dark Horse, and Embracer was able to...
They paid.
Yeah, that means they must have put a dollar amount that even Disney was just like, not worth, or like they didn't even want to mess with, because there was competition for Dark Horse, because again, third largest comic book publisher, and also... DC doesn't seem like that comic book arm will live much longer, so in reality we're probably looking at number 2 in terms of publishing comics. So yeah, this is pretty cool. It opens up for a ton of different like cool stuff for Embracer, and I'm just excited specifically because Embracer was buying up IPs and studios, and I just didn't really see like any value in terms of like, they're gonna remake the second Destroy All Humans game. They're going to remake another SpongeBob game. But reality, like, is that anything that's super interesting to people? And
this is where your new Smash Brothers is going to come from.
Yeah, you do a Dark Horse one. But this also opens them up to where if they want to publish with, like, Epic Games, they could be like, hey, we have a whole library of characters for you guys to use. and get stuff in there that way.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine like now Epic calling them and like now there's a Fortnite skin conversation happening or anything like that. Like there's so much possibilities here with Embracer owning all this stuff.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's just a lot of stuff.
Basically,
and what they do with that stuff is hopefully really, really cool, but we might not find out about it until like 2025.
Yeah, it might be a while, but I'm sure right now, at the beginning of the year, Embracer Group's going to look at any projects they have that doesn't have an IP attached to it. Like it's just a generic, like here's a cool idea for a first person shooter. And then someone's going to be like, but what if this was Time Cop? Or, oh, we have a co-op RPG, but what if this was Umbrella Academy? And then it just turns into a whole thing. So this is pretty, I don't know. I was excited for this, even though I don't really know what Embracer Group kind of gives me the Tencent vibes.
Yeah. Well, we had over E3, like Saber Interactive had a presentation that was terrible.
Yeah, well, yeah, that was the THQ Nordic.
It was Saber, right?
It was Embracer Group through Deep Silver and THQ Nordic.
Yeah, and it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
So just to see what they may or may not do, but like as crazy as it sounds, is like Embracer could probably do something like its own Comic-Con style thing with everything that they have rights to now.
Well, yeah, because now they're 1/3 of Comic-Con. Like in terms of like the comic book publishers, now Embracer Group is in on that. And also Embracer Group announced the same day that they bought 4 other things. They bought Perfect World Entertainment, Digic, Shiver Entertainment, and Spot Film Networks. So they just bought a bunch of video game developers and like movie studio type companies the same day. Like just like no big deal. Like, yeah, we also bought like these 4 or 5 other properties. Yeah. So Embracer is continuing to take over. I'm just excited because now when they do like their presentation next month, or next year, next E3, like the stuff we saw last year that was kind of boring will now have some IPs attached to them to where you're just like, oh, this thing that I saw last year that I thought was kind of boring is 10 times more interesting because it's a Hellboy property.
Yeah, for sure.
No. So. That is it for news.
Yeah, that's all of our news this week. Obviously the week of essentially like the week of Christmas.
Yeah.
Right. So like a lot of places went, we saw like final patches for Battlefield, final patches for, Destiny, final patches for etc. games as these
Final
companies
Fantasy
went on holiday break.
Yeah, Final Fantasy. Today.
Yeah. So, and everybody's kind of, everybody's kind of going into hibernation, and I'm not like until like mid-January usually. Like I almost want to feel like I want to say like almost like around Martin Luther King days when you'll start seeing some stuff start ramping up again.
Yeah, like the 2nd to 3rd week of January is usually when stuff actually starts happening again.
Yeah. So, all right. With that, obviously nothing was delayed because nobody's in the office to delay it. So, so thankfully nothing has been delayed. So what we're playing and watching. So I've had one day off since we last recorded, so I haven't really been playing much. Been dabbling around in Destiny a couple hours here or there, like 2 hours at night, just doing stupid crap. Just mindlessly, meaninglessly grinding the holiday event because there's a certain gun that I want to get, and I'll get it and then never use it. So I did. What did we watch? So we watched my oldest son and oldest daughter. Only daughter had not seen the mid 90s Miracle on 34th Street, so we watched that the other day just as kind of like a Christmas movie. So that's on HBO Max, I believe.
HBO Max has a lot of the classic Christmas movies.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And then we did go see Saturday morning. We went and saw Spider-Man No Way Home. Myself, Angela, and Jonathan. We left Zoe at home. She's not up to date on all that stuff, so she got to watch Owen. I enjoyed it a lot. It was kind of one of those movies where I was just ready for it to be out. With as much conversation that's been around the movie, I was just like, okay, like I need to go see this. I need to see it as soon as I can. And then I just need to, and I left the movie thinking about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like I had pretty much everything spoiled for me. Sarah had half the things spoiled for her. I won't spoil anything here.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed, like I saw it this morning, basically. Me and Sarah just both realized, like, we're off today. Let's just go to the movies, and we just went to the movies.
Yeah.
First time in a movie theater in like 2 years.
It's the best time to go is like in the morning on a Tuesday.
Oh yeah, like it's. You want to talk about social distancing? Like,
go. Yeah, there's like 20 people in there probably.
Yeah, pretty much. So I ended up seeing that. I really enjoyed it. Marvel movies, I hate that there's a part of me that like it's too emotional during Marvel movies because I'm not an emotional person. So when I feel my brain being like, "You want to cry," and I have to tell my brain like, "Shut the fuck up." So that happens a couple times in Spider-Man, to where my brain is just like, "You have emotions, Michael. I know you do."
So this is the only thing I'm gonna say, and I don't.
Yeah,
know
you
if I
can't.
want to,
You
but
can't. You can't.
No, it has. It's more of a phrase. It's not anything that happened in the movie. It's more of a phrase. But I'll just forget.
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
fine.
You don't want to risk.
I'll say it to you after we record it. Yeah, no, it's fine.
But it was pretty good. The post credit stuff was there's two post like what do they call it? Mid credits and the post credits.
Yeah,
those were fine. But I really enjoyed it.
The last one is a trailer.
Yeah, the last one is just a full trailer.
It's a trailer. Like, I can say that, but the last one is a trailer.
Yeah, which I was debating whether sticking through it, because I don't know if it's been released yet on the internet, the trailer, but I'm sure it will be by the end of the week if it isn't.
Right.
But yeah, no, I super enjoyed it. 2.5 hours, like, well worth it. I super enjoyed it. Made me actually consider watching Hawkeye, just because there's connections there. I just don't know if I care about Hawkeye enough to sit through a Hawkeye show.
I will say, like, I'm behind on Hawkeye just because my wife and I's schedule hasn't matched up. It is only I could be wrong, but it is only okay. I was gonna say 5. So it's very short. This is something I think you could totally knock out. Like, you could watch some like before lunch and then watch some like after dinner and just be done.
Yeah, that's what's probably going to happen. Like this weekend, I probably will just burn through Hawkeye since it's all over. Yeah,
and then I almost feel like at this point in time, it would probably be. I think my opinion is Hawkeye would probably be better in a binge chunk like that than watching 45 minutes for 5 consecutive weeks.
Oh yeah, because I can't imagine anyone caring about Jeremy Renner week to week.
Yeah, it wasn't like must see like it definitely did not give me the WandaVision feel of like, hey, it's Friday, or the Mandalorian feel, hey, it's Friday, like, get home, we're having dinner, we're watching this while we eat dinner. Like, that was like our Friday night when WandaVision was out.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. Like, like Loki kind of had elements of that, but sometimes I would forget Loki. Loki sometimes was like
Mandalorian and WandaVision have been the only two for me that were like must see TV.
Yeah, WandaVision for me was definitely must see TV. Loki, I would kind of get annoyed because that show would spin its wheels a little bit too much, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier I just thought was just so damn slow and drawn out.
Yeah, the pacing, it was just, but
it had its moments. But
I need to give Loki another chance. Loki came out while I was on overnights. That did not help anything. Yeah. so I kept falling asleep, and it's not Loki's fault.
Loki definitely, like WandaVision, Loki, especially after watching Spider-Man, are like must see in terms of like all the stuff they're playing with in all of those movies.
I already told Angela because I think I'm getting my booster like on the 30th because I'm off the 30th and the 31st, and Michigan plays on the 31st in the NCAA playoffs for football. And Cobra Kai comes out on the 31st on Netflix, like season 4 or whatever it is. So I told her, like, we're not going anywhere. We're watching Cobra Kai, and then we're watching football. That's our New Year's Eve.
Just call work and be like, yeah, that booster really kicked my ass. I'm already off. Okay, cool. So you don't have to...
So, yeah, I don't have to be that guy. Oh, yeah. So it's like I've got the 30th and the 31st off. I'll get my booster on the morning of the 30th, see how I'm feeling, and then it'll be like blanket and pajamas and laying on the couch watching Cobra Kai and football.
Yeah.
Like, that's how my 2021 is going to end.
Did you end
no
up...
shame.
Did you end up doing anything else?
My Series X came.
Okay.
And I plugged it in, hooked it up, downloaded some stuff, and haven't played it.
Sounds about right for you.
Yeah. The Gunk came out on Game Pass.
Yeah, I downloaded that.
Yeah, I downloaded that as well. That looks really interesting. Somebody tried to ask me to explain it to them. I'm like, I don't know. It looks cute and fun.
Yeah.
Like,
no idea. It's kind of about the environment in some ways.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like one of those like AA games. You know how we're always talking about like there's AAA and indie. This seems like it's right in between of being indie and AAA, which is exactly what I would want in a game
It
right
kind
now.
of gives me the trailers that I watched for it. It kind of gives me Kenna Bridge of Spirits vibes a little bit.
I can kind of see that, not necessarily in like the polish that we saw with Kenna,
Right.
but in terms of where it fit, like almost like a PS2
Yeah.
era style game, but
Third person. You're shooting gunk, it looks like, or you're shooting at gunk.
Yeah.
You're fighting an environment, and then it looks like there's some dynamic writing to it and some dialogue back and forth. So, I don't know how long it is. I don't know anything. I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So, and I still have to go back and do Guardians and all that stuff. So, All right, that's it. Sorry.
For me, it's been mostly Guardians, like really making progress in Guardians of the Galaxy. That one, by the end of it, might sneak into my like top 5 games right now.
Yeah, I need to get this done.
If it continues to go, I can totally see it like moving up way higher, especially as I'm like starting to like compile my like personal game of the year list and then the DDG like game of the year, because we usually do like a top 3. So loving the way that's going. It's just some of the best like character work and just like dialogue. Like I'm always, the story's fine, it's entertaining, but it's anytime we get character moments and learn more about each individual character that I'm just super interested in. I just wish the game's kind of buggy in terms of the dialogue will clip a lot or sometimes drop out in certain instances, and a lot of times the dialogue kind of steps on each other. Like you'll have characters.
I've noticed that where if you like go too far or too fast.
Yeah, I don't know what pace they want me to walk, but sometimes I'll break. There'll be an interesting story happening with the side chatter,
and then you hit a trip line or something.
Yeah, so that's been the only frustrating part, to where it's just like, oh, that was a really good story. But
you're playing on PlayStation?
PS5, yeah. And they just added ray tracing mode to the PS5 version of the game, and I'm sure it's on the Series X as well. But they added a ray tracing mode that just it targets 30 frames per second, but adds ray tracing. So that's the mode I'm playing in now. Even though 60.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited about with the Series X, is just to get in there and compare a couple things.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice that I still have my S right now. So like just to compare and contrast a little bit is what I'm kind of looking forward to see, because that was like the kind of the justification for the upgrade in my mind was, okay, the disk drive.
Yeah.
And then it is a little bit more powerful of a console. And I've always talked about, last year, 2 years ago, as we were building and starting DDG, of like, I don't care. I don't really have a TV that does that. Well, now I do. So I care a little bit more. And I just kind of want to see what, takes advantage of it. Because we watched, what did we watch? There was something that we watched we watched Shang-Chi as well this week, because Jonathan and Zoe hadn't seen that either, the 10 Rings. Yeah. And that was like in Disney Plus's like IMAX presentation.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that looked any better than like my 4K HDR version of whatever they're doing. I don't know if that had to do with sound or anything like that, but it's just kind of like super interesting. Like it looked good. Yeah. It looked really good. And I, seeing it on the TV versus, because I went to the theater, saw it. So it's just super interesting to see how fast the tech is and the little changes to everything.
Yeah, I kind of want to get something that can do 120 frames. My TV can't do it, and my monitor can't. And having to
down here, my monitor here can.
Yeah.
I have a 120 hertz monitor.
Yeah, I don't have one, and I kind of want to. Especially my monitors are hooked up to my Series X, and my PS5 is hooked up to my TV. So one of these days, I'm going to upgrade either my monitor or my TV. Just one's more expensive than the other.
Yeah, I think you and I have the same TV, right?
Yeah, we both have a TCL.
TCL.
Yeah, I just don't know what series you end up have.
Yeah, I think I got a 3.
No,
maybe a 4.
I have a 4, so you would either have a 4 or 5 because you got yours after mine.
Right.
And that does pretty well, but it doesn't do 120 frames. I think only the Series 6 can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to do that. So it's just been Guardians, saw Spider-Man, continuing my Sopranos rewatch, started The Witcher, which I love watching Witcher Season 2, because it feels like they're adding more stuff that I recognize from the video games that I didn't see before in Season 1. So that's been nice, just seeing stuff that I actually can recall, because I've never read the books. I've only like kind of dabbled into books. So seeing stuff that's like, okay, I know that from the video game is nice. And I assume has to be intentional, because I'm noticing more video gamey stuff in season 2 than I did in season 1. And I know Henry Cavill is like a huge video game person, and he like tries to keep the show accurate to the books, but something tells me he has a little bit more say in this season because it feels a little more video gamey.
It's on Netflix, right? So the whole thing's there?
Yeah, everything's on Netflix all at once. So as soon as we're done here, I'm going to start watching it again. Kind of took a little bit of a break from Halo. Like I'm playing like every other day or every like 2-3 days when I remember. Still haven't dabbled in a single player campaign. That's something I'm hoping to like really dig into, hopefully before we talk Game of the Year. But honestly,
I need to too, but it's going to be post-Christmas for sure. So.
But I honestly, like, based on how we do Game of the Year, I don't see it cracking into my top 3, just from what I've seen of the single player campaign. So it's really not a priority for me right now. And even then, like, I think just on a multiplayer alone, it could, like, if we were to do like a top 10, it would still be able to crack a top 10 with just the multiplayer. But I don't know about you, but I kind of have a rough idea of what my top 3 for the year.
I need to go back and review what I played.
Yeah.
Like, and like look through my list. Like, it used to be so easy. I could just kind of look through my my PlayStation trophies, but now I got to think about 2 other consoles.
Yeah, like right now I have a rough sketch, but I keep like a notepad that I just have like a list of games.
I'm not that savvy. I'm not that responsible.
Yeah. No, I try to be responsible, and I like organizing stuff in lists. So I'm just like going through that stuff. But I think my top 3 is kind of, I know what they are. I just don't know what order they're going to be. And then Guardian seems like it might sneak up in there. But that is it for playing and watching for me.
All right. So we are going to jump into the questions. You can send us questions or comments using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can wait till Michael posts the stuff on Facebook that we want some stuff, or you can just send it to us when you have it. So Robert Cartwright says, first, I'd like to thank you guys for the year of pods and wishing you all a happy and safe holidays. Same to you. After recently watching Free Guy, which I want to watch, it made me think, if I was stuck in a game, what would it be? I would opt for Grand Theft Auto 5 with unlimited respawn. Which would you go for?
So I already live in Chicago, so the idea of Grand Theft Auto 5 isn't the most appealing thing to me. It just seems too chaotic. I think we answered something similar to this, and I think I said like Stardew Valley would be like kind of right down my alley in terms of like the relaxing. Because I don't know if like Grand Theft Auto, you need to be able to like do crime and stuff like that, and I just don't really have that into me. And then if I was like in like the Marvel universe in their games, and I didn't have a superpower, I would feel pointless. So I think I would go to like Stardew Valley because I could probably do a farm. That would probably be okay for me. I don't know about you, Dave. Would you be in the Destiny world? That seems like that would not be fun.
Well, I don't know, man. To throw some of that space magic to the kid. Yeah. And if he's just revived by your ghost all the time. Like, talk about you would never die.
Yeah.
I think I don't even really know what I would want. That's tough. I think it'd be cool. Like I haven't gotten super deep into the game, but like to live in the Horizon world with like those the tech stuff, but then trying to like always fight for your life.
Yeah, that's the thing that kills me. Like every time I think about this stuff, like God of War would be
the Uncharted world. Like no, I don't want to be like I mean, I want to be able to like take like the 7 bullets that he can take and not die and just regen my health.
But then you would have to take 7 bullets, and is that really that interesting? Like, is that as fun as you think it is?
Probably not.
Yeah, it depends on like if with this question, are we then the protagonist? Are we if we get thrown into that world? That's where it gets tricky. Grand Theft Auto looks fun, but then you'd have to be the Grand Theft Auto guys, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of murder and getting stabbed and stuff. So I don't know if that would be great. So I think I would have to cop out and do like a Stardew or something. Because even like, like a favorite of mine would be like Kingdom Hearts, but like then I gotta fight like Heartless and worry about being Norded. Like that's too much pressure. That shit's scary.
Yeah, that's just crazy. All right. Next question comes from Roy Gibbs. GTA Online is a great game. I always try to play for Christmas Day. It's great how they add snow to the world and also put a Christmas tree up in my apartment. Is there a game you like to play at Christmas? Typically, mine has been opening up all and building all my kids' toys for them to lose parts from it.
Okay.
So
there's
a couple gifts that I know that people are getting that I'm like, we're not opening this today.
Oh God.
Like,
did you do the battery check? Did you already?
I think so.
Okay.
Like, yeah, we should be fine. So.
I don't have a specific Christmas game. Usually, like, especially when I was a kid, there would be just a video game I would get on Christmas. So I would be whatever game was available to me that was new is what I would want to start on Christmas. Though there is something fun in terms of like when you get a multiplayer game on Christmas and then you get roulette on if it's going to work or not on Christmas Day, which I think Nintendo announced that like they had like some weird announcement of like don't expect the online to be consistent on Christmas Day or during the holidays.
Yeah. I've had a friend of mine that I play some games with that he's buying his kids a console. And he's been messaging me like, how do I do this? Like, do I need this? Do I need this and this and this? And I'm just like, dude, stop overthinking it.
What he should do is set it up right away.
Yeah, we've been talking about that, you know, so he just wants to make sure, but he's already asking about like, how do I charge this? Like, is it, you know, do I need to charge it? You know, like,
yeah, because like luckily we didn't have to deal with this growing up, but man, I would hate if I was like a 7-year-old kid and then I'd put my game in my new console and then it's like,
yeah, I get to play Warzone 48 hours later.
Like just take care of that stuff now, because
depending on your home internet too, it's not an exaggeration. Like,
I could not imagine how much of a bummer that would have been when like the Tony Hawk games came out when I was a kid and it would be like, oh, you know, you're not playing this today. So. That would suck. But yeah, nothing specific.
I mean, the obvious answer is like I have memories as a kid playing like Super Nintendo with my brother on Christmas when his friend got one and he brought it over and they rented games on Christmas Eve because they knew he was getting it. And then I've had, you know, us getting our own, you know, so like I have a memory of my dad playing F-Zero and blowing the car up faster than anything I've ever seen in my entire life. You know, like those things, like those have happened. But nothing specific, like any kind of like crazy like tradition. The last couple of years, like if we've been at family's house, like I'm helping them like create an Xbox account or make sure their PSN account is right. You know, like I've done some of that stuff, but nothing too traditional or crazy. So. Yeah,
I will say it is nice though. Usually on Christmas Day or like on Thanksgiving, usually all of my friends are off because it's a holiday, so that's usually the best day to coordinate like those game nights that we always like fail to do during the week because we all have work at different times.
8 or 9 o'clock at night, everybody's kind of like eating and they've done their family, you know, their hugs and their thank yous and all that stuff, and everybody's kind of starting to chill out a little bit, and that's when you can just get on and play a game or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, next question is from Will Richardson. Opinions on how terrible the launch of Forza Horizon has been for Xbox. Its connectivity issues limited it to a soulless shell. It's still awful. Terrible and copy-paste cutscenes and awful AI. Pretty bad considering it's one of Xbox's biggest exclusives. Full disclosure, like he sent us this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I want to say.
We noticed it like as we were recording last week, kind of, but then it was too late for the show.
And I know Will pretty well. I've known him for years. We've communicated social media for a while. He is an avid racing fan.
And I think that's where the difference is between his experience versus our experience, or specifically mine.
I haven't played it. Yeah. Like I think I have it downloaded. I haven't played it at all. So, but I also have a handful of friends that have played it, and they're loving it.
Yeah.
And they're telling me that I have to play it. It's similar to what Randy just said in the chat. I have no issue. I've had no issues with Forza myself. Now,
go on.
I don't think that Randy is a multiplayer race person, like race against other people. And I would assume I'm reaching possibly, but I think Will is.
Yeah.
in terms of a little bit of a competitive standpoint. You did do a little research on this. I know you are, and you have, and we briefly discussed it before. I don't look at this as a fail, as a fail or having issues. Like, the only thing that I've seen from a data standpoint is that Horizon sold very, very well in November, both the $40 addition to the Game Pass subscription and the game flat out by itself. And I have not heard negativity. So, I'm not saying that it is or isn't working because I haven't played it, but everything that I've heard from the people that I follow and the perspectives that I've seen has been positive.
So here's where the game was busted in certain aspects. There were multiple hot fixes. I think there was a hot fix to fix the online after the first weekend, and then that hot fix also broke some things that they needed another hot fix to fix. So it did have a rough 2 weeks.
Sounds like a standard launch for a game as a service.
Yeah, and I think the difference is Will enjoys racing games, like all types of racing games, and he's competitive with it. And me, I'm just casual as shit when it comes to racing games. So
we would pick Need for Speed over Gran Turismo every day of the week. Both of us would.
And so from a casual experience, Forza did exactly what I needed to do. Also, this is Forza Horizon 5. I've only played 20 minutes of Horizon 4. So this is basically my first Horizon game. So I enjoyed it a lot more than someone who had played 5 of these. Because the people that I've heard had issues are the people that have played all 4 previous games. And it definitely does feel like copy and paste in a new location. But I also think when you look online at other media people, influencers, podcasters, a lot of them are in the same boat where they are casual racing fans. And because of Game Pass, they actually picked up Horizon for the first time.
Yeah.
So we're seeing
that's where the positive chatter comes from.
Yeah.
And I'm not going on a Twitch stream or a YouTube guy that's doing a breakdown of a car or a break, and listening to them complain. Like, I'm definitely not digging deep into Forza like I do sometimes into Destiny, depending on what's going on with it. So I'm sure this game is definitely has its flaws and has its issues, but just the social circles that I follow in Will, I'm not seeing it. So I would love a little bit more, elaboration on what you're seeing, or if you have somewhere that you could send us to that I could read about it. I would love to hear what's going on.
Yeah. Definitely the game was broken in several aspects because they had to release hot fixes, not patches, like hot fix patches. So there definitely is issues. It's just a matter of is it, specifically when it came to me and you to a lesser extent because you haven't played it, did it affect our possible enjoyment of this game?
But there's I guess, and the final point I have for it is there's nothing that's shown up on social media that told me hey, I don't need to play that this weekend. I'm not doing it. Going all the way back to Outriders, we're investigating issues where players' inventory has been deleted. I'm I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen that.
Yeah. And
I would think that as many people that I follow on purpose, whether they're Xbox fans or PlayStation fans or game fans or are always a little passive aggressive or a little negative or chomping at the bit to find something maybe Xbox isn't doing right. Not saying that Will is at all. He's very open-minded. And just to see, I haven't seen that the vitriol I've seen a little bit around Battlefield and around Vanguard and around all these other games.
I honestly do think that Game Pass plays a part in it because there's no dollar financial thing,
100%.
Especially you have to deal with the influencers that are going to get the fancy shit, that they sent to influencers that are going to be fine with whatever. But then you're just going to get people.
But you didn't get any of that.
No, I didn't get any of that shit.
You pay for your own Game Pass.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the second part of this. So you always have to deal with the influencers that are just they got free shit and
this is amazing.
Yeah. So they tend to be easier on it. And then you just have people with Game Pass that just. They just downloaded the game.
It's on Game Pass. I'm going to play it. I feel right now, and I haven't played either one of these games, so this is a valid observation on my part. I'm just as excited to play Forza as I am to play the Gunk. And I don't really know what either one of them is.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what Forza is.
But they're both downloaded
I know what Forza
on your console.
But it's there. And that's the same. That's the double-edged sword of Game Pass. That's the love and hate relationship I have with Game Pass. Is the Halo campaign is another example of it. It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. So
I'll play it when I play it.
And I think that's part of the reason why I haven't like felt the need to play the Halo campaign.
Yeah,
is because it's just always going to be there.
Yep.
So, and then when it comes to Horizon,
that game is a fact. I know is never going off Game Pass.
And then when it comes to Forza Horizon, which could leave Game Pass eventually just because of licensing, if it didn't work day one for me, I would be like, okay, whatever, and that just move on to the next game because there's no like financial cost.
That's the good and the bad of Game Pass. It takes away the day one feeling. 100%, it does.
And criticisms.
But but it also means day 35, it's still there.
Yeah. Which I think is
day 135. It's there.
I think it's definitely going to be that thing. We're going to notice that in terms of how games are covered as Game Pass becomes more of the norm, and as Microsoft just like gets people to have Game Pass, you're going to see a lot of people being like, "I don't need to give this a review score because it's just on Game Pass. Like it doesn't. You're not putting $60 down for this game anymore. It's just there." And I think we're definitely seeing that with Horizon to where, surface level, everything's all rainbows and sunshine, and then when you dig deeper, it's like, oh no, this game's flawed and has issues. But because there's no dollar cost, people are gonna be like, who gives a shit, and then move on.
Yeah, you're right, and it's crazy. So, all right, Lebetsky sends a question: why is Vita not part of Project Spartacus? They're killing me
because of that touch screen and that back screen.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know why they didn't just say Vita TV. But I think they then would have to acknowledge that the Vita existed, and I don't think they're proud of the Vita.
Yeah.
Right?
Just hook up your Vita to your PS5 through remote play, and you'll be fine.
No, but like
I don't even know if you can do that.
But it is kind of crazy though that they won't even mention PS Vita TV, because that was like the compatibility was pretty good in terms of Vita games like ran on the Vita TV that use the controller. But they won't even add Vita TV to the Spartacus. As far as we know, they could still add it because it's a work in progress. But do you think Sony's that like ashamed of the Vita that they don't even want to mention Vita TV?
No, I don't think they are, but I think you're right. They're just like, okay, so like arguably one of the best Vita games, Uncharted Golden Abyss, like requires you to rub the screen. Like, yeah, I guess you could rub the touchpad, but
that would involve work. And I don't know if they want to put that individual work into these Vita titles. Yeah. And the only option would be I think it'd be less work to give them the option of, like, I was half joking but half serious, of like, okay, you can connect your Vita to the PlayStation 5 through the PlayStation Plus Premier package you have, and you can use your Vita as a controller and play these games on the screen, but have to do certain actions on the touchscreen. That would be the only way that would work. Yeah, and the work that would
and all you would see is an increase in those Vitas, because people would be like, oh, I want to check this out, and then all of a sudden Vitas are going to cost like $500.
But even then, it would be for like the 5 games that actually use the touch controls properly. Yeah, it definitely sucks. Who knows? Maybe the PS Vita TV tier will be a 4th tier that you have to pay an additional $50.
Arguably, the most successful PS Vita games were the ones that were cross-play or whatever they had. Anyways,
because no one had to buy a Vita for it. You just owned it because you had the PS4 game.
Sorry.
Did Mighty Number 9 ever come out to the Vita? Or is that still... they're still waiting on that?
It might be... Maybe they're still like making the Game Boy version.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It seems crazy that they won't even do PS Vita TV, but who knows what Spartacus will look like once it comes out.
Yeah. All right. John Binkley says, has MJC ever watched FLCL? That show has such a great soundtrack by the band The Pillows. I was catching up on the bonus episode and watched the first episode of OHSHC, which is...
Ouran High School Host Club, I believe.
Yeah, which is one of the animes that I had to watch for an episode of on Patreon, and it wasn't bad. Ideas for a future bonus episode, musical tastes. That'll probably be very heavily one-sided, Michael. And he goes, love the podcast and Merry Christmas. So thank you. So yeah, musical taste in general, I don't... Dave
doesn't like music. He's from that town from Footloose.
I don't necessarily hate music, but I don't know what I really like or don't like.
Fucking weird. You're like a 40-year-old man who doesn't know. Like, I don't know what I like about music.
No, I don't know what genres I like or don't like.
That's still like
music.
A weird thing to not know, but like I guess.
And then I don't know what FLCL is.
I think that's Fooly Cooley. I have seen that. I saw it Like I binged watched a season of that. There's 2 seasons, so I binge watched it. I don't remember much outside of the music being really, really good. But it's definitely, I know they rebooted it or added a additional season to that. But yeah, I have seen FLCL, if that is Fooly Cooley. I believe that's how they pronounced it. But yeah, I have seen that, and I'm glad you're watching Ouran High School Host Club, which is on Netflix, and everyone should watch it. But yeah, I would totally be into doing a musical taste thing in terms of just like talking about video game music genres and stuff like that. But unfortunately, Dave doesn't know what music is.
I think I can make a conversation out of it. Like I can, but it would just require a little bit more like work on my part, and I'm not opposed to doing it. But, so it could be something. But it would.
How do you feel about ska?
I don't even know what that is.
You don't skank?
What?
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, never mind.
And then our last question of the night from Stefan Wren. He said, what are you more looking forward to, Horizon or God of War? Right now, for me, it's God of War because I've beaten God of War and I want to see how the story continues. I have tentative plans after the new year to hopefully play Horizon in preparation of getting ready for Forbidden West. So I feel like I will probably do similar to what I did to Spider-Man with Horizon. That Miles Morales coming out kind of forced me to play the first Spider-Man because I was super interested in Miles, and I'm interested in Forbidden West, so I'll play the first one.
So Horizon was like a couple cutscenes away from being an amazing one and done, and I wish they would have had the courage to make Horizon a one and done. So with saying that, I would probably say I'm more excited for God of War because I've actually finished the first God of War, and I want to see where that goes. And I'm really excited about the idea that they're not doing a trilogy. This is just going to be it. They don't want to drag this out.
That makes me want to play it. That makes me want to play it even more.
Yeah, because I want to know how you. I would imagine when they first greenlit this, they were probably planning it to be a trilogy, and then they just decided,
how do you go from a 3-pillar system to a 2-pillar system?
Especially everything is thought of in trilogies, so the idea that they're going to just make this game and then that's it for a little bit, I don't think God of War is going away for a long period of time, but the idea that this story arc will be done in the next game, super interested in. Why Horizon, I feel like Sony sees that as like a long-term franchise that makes me less excited. Like knowing that this is Horizon 2 of 3, 2 of 4, 2 of 5, potentially.
Yeah, this is Horizon Uncharted.
Yeah. Why God of War? It's like God of War 2. That's it. Ragnarok, and then we're out for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for sending the questions in and the comments in. Always a great discussion. So our social networks, Michael's is at the first MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Those are both our Twitters. Our main Digital Days Twitter is at Digital Days Pod. That's where you can send the hashtag Ask Digital Days statements, questions, all that stuff. Facebook group, Discord server is linked in the show notes. Patreon is there as well. And there's different tiers in there, but it's December. I'm not going to go super deep into Patreon. You guys have much more important things to be spending your money on than us, as well as we get near the end of the year. So, yes, like Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Please be safe. Please be responsible with whatever you are choosing to do. And it's been a pleasure to entertain you guys for the last year or so, and I'm looking forward to more.
Yep. So programming note, probably next week we're going to break glass on a Patreon episode. So everyone that hasn't listened to Patreon episodes will be able to listen to one. I don't know which one we're going to release just yet. Me and Dave need to kind of figure that out. It won't be the anime episode.
We should put some polls. Let's put some polls on Facebook group and Twitter.
Yeah. I think, I don't even know which topics we've covered.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Angela was looking at them today.
Maybe that PS3 Game of the Generation one we did, or all-time favorite games.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those, but we'll definitely do that. And maybe
we can put the food one out and get more people mad at Michael.
Mad or on my side is the question.
Mad.
You know what? If you like pretzels,
let's just put it this way.
I don't mind if you hate me.
His concern with my taste or my lack of knowledge of music is the same concerns that I have with his lack of taste buds.
Because I don't like fucking dry pretzels. You don't know what genre fucking music you like, but because I don't like pretzels, that's worse? What fucking fake suburban bullshit is this? Sorry, I associate pretzels with the suburbs. I don't know why. They're just boring as shit. But what the fuck? Dude? Jesus, this man doesn't know how to skank, but he loves fucking pretzels?
Oh my god.
The fuck? Merry fucking Christmas, Dave.
Oh my gosh.
This fucking man is willing to die on a pretzel.
We'll talk to you guys
fucking
next year.
Pretzels.
Keep moving forward.
God. Makes sense you don't know
pretzels.
what music are. Like, they totally make sense. You're just like, I
am so happy I don't have to talk to you till next year.
I don't know about you. We're talking next week, motherfucker, because we have to record episodes still.
Texting is different than talking.
Nope, we're still recording something next week. Dave likes pretzels more than he likes music.
No, I didn't say that.
That's fucking wild. You heard that, guys, right? He likes pretzels more than he likes music. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You should be more like your tagline.
Don't be a dick?
Yeah.
You should just change your fucking tagline to I love pretzels. Fucking pretzels. This man's willing to die over pretzels.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Peanut butter and shit. Like, oh my god. Mashed potatoes. Get the fuck out of here. Don't be a dick. See you guys.